Hi there, thanks for coming by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard, and this is Big Joe Turner from the 1950s. And what a city, huh? Sheffield, Alabama. Let me give you a close look real quick. Sheffield, Alabama, not exactly one of your mainstream stops, even on the Chitlin circuit. But we've got 1958 here for this Big Joe, and it's just a beautifully designed poster. I just love this. It's really, reeks of the 1950s. The black and blue design for Big Joe, who's boss of the blues, according to the poster, right here by my finger. Boss of the blues there, so the black and blue and white really plays in nicely. It's kind of funny how he was known as Big Joe Turner, but the word big doesn't appear anywhere on this poster. The designer just, or the management perhaps, decided to drop the big for this occasion. But it's just a straightforward design and just a simple layout, but I just find it incredibly charming. I mean, for example, look at the way the picture of Joe and the diamond of information both have a triangle sticking down, and you've got your stars on there of all three colors, white, black, and blue at various points on the poster, and it's got a couple of great photos of, I like to call just the smiling gentlemen, and they're looking in opposite directions, and just there's a lot of just really nice subtle design elements that make this really special. I just think it's really, really nicely and simply laid out, and so 50s, Under Joe's name there, you've got 3 song titles and then Atlantic Records, which is really fun to have that on there. The record label always adds a nice touch. Now, Joe performed heavens from the 1920s to the 1980s. Talk about a long career. Ooh, man, but he's best known for being indeed a 1950s pioneering figure in rock and roll, and that's, of course, attributable to his 1954 seminal key monster hit, Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Now, that sort of changed everything, no doubt about it, and all of a sudden, in 1954, at the age of 43, Big Joe Turner found himself a rock and roll star, which was, definitely the pinnacle of his career. And he didn't write Shake, Rattle, and Roll, but he was the first one to record it. And boy, what a song that was sexual in nature and very disguised subtleties that you don't certainly find in today's music. And an example is like the line, "I'm like a one-eyed cat peeping in a seafood store," things like that. It's just very disguised sexual nature, and you can hear the song for decades and not really put 2 and 2 together and figure out what that meant. Believe me, I can tell you firsthand, because I didn't know until I read about it much later in life. So, interestingly, that song in '54 was covered by Bill Haley and the Comets as well in a very cleaned up version, and both versions went on to sell 1 million copies, both Big Joe Turner and Haley's, making that song pretty much the first giant hit of rock and roll. And it's really nice because it's right there on the poster, that song title. So that really, right above the word Atlantic Records. So that's really nice. Also in those songs, as you can see, Love Roller Coaster and A World of Trouble, although they left off in this case. And that was the A and B side of a single from the previous year, which was his 20th consecutive top 20 R&B hit. But indeed, he was at the end of his charting career. His next single would be the last one to enter Billboard's charts for Big Joe, and so that's, he had a good 5-year run on the R&B charts, maybe a little longer, but that was sort of the end. But as we said, he performed into the 1980s, for heaven's sake, so he did have a long, wonderful performing career. Interesting how Choker Campbell gets such prominent placement on the poster. Quite often the bandleader like that is down with just a much smaller strip at the bottom of the poster, but he was a saxophonist and the bandleader, and they gave him really nice coverage there. And by the way, Choker would go on in just a couple of years to join Berry Gordy in the Motown stable of musicians, and be around in the early 60s, played a very prominent role in the touring Motortown revues and things like that. So Choker had a lot of fun leading the band for sure with the rock and roll history and then soul and R&B history in the 60s. So. Well, let's see, in closing, Doc Pomus is a songwriter who you've probably heard of if you're watching this blog. Heavens, he wrote so many key hits in the 50s and 60s. He's a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame himself, and Songwriters Hall of Fame and Blues Hall of Fame. And Doc Pomus said about Big Joe, he said, quote, "Rock and roll would never have happened without him." Wow, that's really a strong statement. In fact, I sort of question the validity. It might have been more of a poetic exaggeration to just say how important, though, Big Joe Turner was in seminal rock and roll in the 1950s. So you put all that together, and it makes for a really sweet concert poster. I just love this piece. So hope you enjoyed it, too. Thanks a lot for coming by, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.